Tech.
Yeah, hey guys, it's Ozzy from Old Dixie Loaders and Supply, and I am here today at Spartan Development Group with my friend Mark Wallach. We've been trying to get this going for a while. He has got the coolest place here in Vero off of Oslo. It's called, again, Spartan Development Group. And I just wanted him to tell us a little bit about his program because I think it's really, really important. And I think a lot of our customers would really love to know this information. And I also think that no one really knows that there's actually a shoot house where they can learn how to do close quarter combat, both single and team, and continue to train along the way. And he's very, very reasonable for the type of training that you get. But I'm going to let him talk about that a little bit. So again, this is Mark Wallach. Mark, thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Absolutely.
And I want you to tell us a little bit about you. I know that you've done a lot of training.
Yeah. Started out in this industry originally as a kind of a training junkie. Went to a lot of courses, something like 10 courses, 12 courses a year, and pretty quickly realized that, you don't necessarily advance just by going to courses. That's where you learn material, and then you got to put it into practice, whether that's competition or sustainment training or whatever it is. You got to keep up with what the skills that you learned in that coursework. And so born out of that type of community, we built this facility in 2016 to facilitate hosting courses, hosting instructors, having sustainment training on a regular basis to hone our own skills and not let the rust gather. And that's where we are today.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really good. I really like your idea, the concept of having a shoot house here where you can do close quarter combat. I mean, there is like nothing like this anywhere in this area unless you're doing it with the police department. What made you decide to start this whole venture this than, again, doing the training classes that you did and realizing that there was an area that you could actually fill in this particular field?
Yeah, so taking a lot of coursework, the majority of the courses I took were live fire. Very few of them were centered around small unit tactics or CQB. And the few that were limited in terms of how often you could take them and how far you had to travel because there were limited venues, limited opportunities to train that type of skill. And I've been doing martial arts for the greater part of my life, and I kind of relegate it to some of the martial arts. You've got some where you're doing forms and you're punching the air, and then sometimes those arts will actually test their skills against an opponent that's giving them some force back and some resistance. And I would say that the martial arts that test their skills against a live opponent on a regular basis, whether that's sparring and boxing or Muay Thai or jiu-jitsu or judo, whatever it is, they're really validating those skills. And all of that flat range stuff that you can throw a stone in any direction, hit 5 firearms instructors that are good quality instructors for the most part that can teach you how to shoot better and how to be competent with a firearm. There are very few out there very few opportunities, I should say, for people out there to actually test their skills in a stressful, simulated deadly force environment. And there's a lot more that goes into surviving, or I should say winning, a deadly force situation than simply marksmanship skills and weapons manipulation skills. There's a lot more that goes into that, and that really starts to touch on the tactics piece. And without having a facility that's kind of purpose-built with the right equipment, the right safety protocols in place, it's rather difficult to train those tactics safely. And so to do so under the direction of people who have been there and done that, we bring in the best of, the best that there is to offer, at least in this state, and sometimes from out of state as well, to really try to get the best well-rounded view of the various techniques and tactics that are out there and figure out how they apply to us and how they set us up for success, in those deadly force encounters.
That's awesome. I think that's really important because a lot of people don't understand that if you don't test your skill and you don't see where you're at, you really don't know where you're at. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, like we were talking about this earlier, a lot of people have this belief that, because they've gone out to the range and shot a few times, flat range, and maybe even hit some steel targets, live fire, that if somebody were to break in their house, they could just basically go run out there and, shoot that person or whatever. It doesn't work that way because the other person has a vote. When you have an actual encounter with somebody else, they have a vote as to how that's going to play out. So this is a good way to take all those skills that you're learning and put them to the test to see where you actually stack up in that type of a situation. So can you tell us a few of the classes that you offer and what students can expect from one of your classes?
Yeah, we do a variety of live fire classes, but that's really not what this facility is about. We do those at various ranges whenever they host us, but this facility focuses on non-lethal training ammunition and force-on-force or tactics-based classes. And I divide those up into three categories. We basically have a combatives class, defensive tactics class, if you will, that focuses on, everything that happens between 0 to 5 feet when at least one person is armed with a weapon. So, martial arts, as a foundational skill is in there, but how it relates to the weapons-based environment, we try to focus on that here as opposed to focusing strictly on traditional martial arts. So we subscribe to the ShipWorks curriculum for that. We rely upon those guys to provide us the best level of instruction for that particular discipline, and we reinforce it on a monthly basis with our sustainment training program. That's upstairs, that's in our mat room. Downstairs, it's all UTM, marking cartridges, and we'll do pretty much two different types of courses. The first is a course that focuses on solo movement within a structure, solo response to, whatever threat may present itself in the house. Could be an active shooter scenario, could be simply somebody waking you up with a bump in the night. So solo, force on force, usually 1v1, or in certain cases 1v2, 1v3, but basically these are skills that apply to the everyday person that carries a firearm, that doesn't have a team, that doesn't have a ton of gear that's going to augment the team's capabilities. So he really is dependent on himself, his skills, his tactics, and the equipment that he carries on him. So that is an opportunity to test those skills, an opportunity to learn those skills in class, and then you're invited to come back as often as you like. Once a month we have a sustainment training program to test those solo gunfighting skills against an opposing force. So that is our solo program, so to speak. The other side of that is maybe in certain cases, depending on your occupation, maybe based a little bit in fantasy land. But we really enjoy working in a team environment because of the complexity, because of the nature of building a team with others and having that camaraderie. And it is a skill that professionals in the industry need to have in order to work safely and effectively in small teams. And so we have a team CQB class that we teach to support that, and we also have 2 sustainment training days a month for anybody who's completed a class, whether that's our class or somebody else's class, like some of the other CQB schools around the country or in Florida. We welcome anyone that has that knowledge and can perform safely to come join us and just get some reps in with the team and do some CQB a couple times a month for, about 8 hours each time. All of our sustainment training programs are about 6 to 8 hours in length. So those are really the 3 different disciplines that we focus on in the house: combatives, or armed combatives, inside 0 to 5 feet, with some scenarios using the ShipWorks curriculum, solo CQB in force on force, and team CQB, which we'll sometimes test with force on force, but there's a lot of force on target as well. So that's what we focus on here, and there's some other variables that can change things. We'll sometimes teach a team CQB class that focuses on night vision, so the majority of that particular coursework is tweaked a bit, and we focus on the application of those skills under night vision, and we'll also integrate some low light, no light stuff as well. And now that's just what we teach. We host other instructors on a regular basis. We just had John Dufresne come to do his weaponized geometry 2 class a month or two ago. Jared Reston with Reston Group comes to teach his coursework quite often. And we've had others. John Lovell's come and taught a CQB class. Jeff Cotto up in Melbourne. So we host people on a regular basis, and we're always looking to host the next guy that we feel like there's a lot we can learn from. So
that is awesome. That's really awesome. And one of the things I really like is you guys are really affordable for the length of training that they get. And the fact that you supply, if I'm mistaken, let me know, you supply the equipment, protective equipment, ammunition, and everything based on your price. And what was that price for those classes?
So typically, I think the price just went up on the solo CQB class due to the fact that people are shooting more live, live, but UTM ammo. And the ammo is included in the course cost. I think it went up to $385. I'll have to double check.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I'm pretty sure something there, but still, $385 for what is it, 8 hours? Of training.
Well, it says 8 hours. I'll guarantee 8 hours. It's usually more like 10.
And that's cool.
I'll almost never. Not almost. I will never cancel a class early. I always go far beyond what I plan to do, and that's partially due to the fact that I typically only get students once or twice, especially concealed carry classes, and I just try to give them everything I can, and that's it. So usually, like I said, about 8, 9, 10 hours. We don't break for lunch. That's why most of the classes are scheduled after noon. So from like noon to 8, we'll go 8 hours straight.
That's awesome. So I mean, guys, I'm telling you right now, I've done a lot of this, and I've seen a lot of the costs of these classes for the level of training that you're going to get here, and he is incredibly cost effective. And the fact that you can do sustainment training, now does it cost them anything to do the sustainment training?
No, it depends on the class. For the ShivWorks Combatives sustainment training day a month, we depending on how many students there are, say there's 10 students and everybody fires an average of 20 rounds, that ends up being 200 rounds. We just divide that by the number of students. In that case, 10 students, everybody pays about $20 to cover the cost of the blanks that are used upstairs in the mat room. The sustainment training downstairs for solo force-on-force stuff, unless you're just absolutely hosing and missing the target and going through magazine after magazine, typically each gunfight you get into, and you typically get into 2 on those days at a minimum, sometimes 4, you'll be running through about the average of 1 full-size magazine, so 17 rounds, something like that. So again, at $1 a round, just depends on how many gunfights you get into, and there's no requirement. You can do as many or as few you like that day. So we just, again, divide the number of rounds shot by the number of students that we have, or I shouldn't say students, but I should say alumni that we have. And, it usually turns out to be something like $50. On the team CQB days, the buy-in for that is we just ask that you've had some significant training in CQB. I don't care who it was with, as long as they were the reputable instructor. And the majority of our reps are done with the Mantis Blackbeard lasers these days. Only because we can get so much more work in without having to focus a lot more on safety protocols, a lot more on reset, and we can actually tweak the targets a little bit differently when we have the lasers as opposed to marking cartridges. So we see a ton of value in the Blackbeards. They are available for sale at a discounted cost here, and they can be included in your course cost if you so choose. It's not required. But when people take a course, they have that option, and most of the guys, they just show up there with their Blackbeards, whether they got them from us or somewhere else, doesn't matter, and we get a ton of training in with the lasers at a cost of 0 cents per round. Now that's on most sustainment training days, but sometimes we'll culminate the day with some force on target or some force on force, and in that case, again, the round counts are relatively small per person, so you're still looking at maybe somewhere between $20 and $50 for that day. And depending on the day, we usually have 8, 10 people, something like that, so we'll go through a significant amount of ammo. But ammo's been tough lately with UTM restricting it the way that they have in recent years. So the cost per bullet is not going up, but our resources are limited. So that's another reason why we're augmenting our training with the lasers, and it's actually been very positive, very positive.
Absolutely. I think that I actually picked one up from you. And that Blackbeard, the Mantis Blackbeard system, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is really very cool in respect that when you pull the trigger, it resets your trigger so that you can keep shooting dry fire, and you don't have to just use it here. You can use it at home. You can do a little bit of work on your close quarter combat, cornering, and entering rooms and using that Mantis dry fire so you can see where your shots are going. I think that's awesome, and I think that there are some of the newer systems where you can actually mark your target with once it's hit with the laser, it actually shows up.
Yeah. And we have some of those systems here to show you too. But what's interesting is, like he was saying, the dry fire is something that Mantis markets very hard, and of course it's absolutely valuable. But one of the applications that, the primary application that we use it for in CQB type training is, being able to identify whether or not a person is using the proper height over bore offset for their optic, whether or not they made a hit in a simulated, force on force type run, but using lasers. And we have enough people that we usually designate observers with phones, and they'll be able to record everyone, and we can visually go back on the video and say, that wasn't a good hit for him, or that wasn't a good hit for the other guy, or this guy hit first before the other one hit. So we don't just make it laser tag where it's the Wild West. We really use it as a training tool the way to the best way we've been able to, and it has been overwhelmingly positive feedback from all the guys.
Yeah, absolutely, and that really is important, because when you're getting that feedback and you got somebody seeing what you're doing, and again, height over bore is really important, especially now we're using risers, because it allows you to keep your head in alignment with your target and kind of be able to see everything around you better than being right on your rifle. I think that's really important. So you're responsible for every round that leaves your gun, and if you don't know your height over bore, you could miss your target, or you could potentially hit somebody else. Especially if you're taking a shot that is at a distance and you've got a narrow open window. That's a tough situation. So this is really great. This is a great opportunity for you. And I know that when we were talking, you had said that you got some really cool plans for the future. Do you want to share those with us at all?
Yeah, sure. Briefly, we're in the process right now of building a 900-yard long range that's going to have about 16 berms and a whole bunch of other berms that are designated for action areas that we'll use for competition and classes. In addition to the same shoot house we have here, but I think it's going to be about 4 times the size, 2 stories, all NLTA. We'll have a live fire shoot house as well. So 2 shoot houses, and still the same combatives area, a gym, a large classroom, and some lodging on site as well. So it's going to be a very complete training facility where we can accomplish all of the things that we do on one single site, and that's very exciting for us, and particularly for me, because I really want to be efficient in terms of minimizing downtime, minimizing travel time, and getting the most training value out of your training day. So that's what the goal is, and that's what we're building it with those things in mind.
That is very cool. Is that going to be here in Vero as well?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
That is freaking awesome.
It's going to be about 15 minutes off of I-95, a little bit west.
I mean, really, guys, I'm telling you right now that you'd be crazy not to consider this. I think it's great training, and it will supplement what you're learning on the flat range, because there's absolutely no way to substitute this kind of training. And if you really want to be good and want to be able to protect your family and protect yourself, you really should consider this class. I mean, because it's safe. These guys are really good at what they do. And I mean, you're going to learn a shit ton of stuff. So I highly recommend that you consider this. And the fact that he's going to put together an even better place, that is awesome. Are you going to keep this place still too? Or are you going to give this up?
We're going to keep it for a while, but eventually we will transition from this space to the other one when it's complete.
Yeah.
It's going to take a minute.
Now, I can't remember. Did you say you guys actually do shoot-throughs too on the walls?
In the house we do.
Yeah.
Our walls are entirely made of cardboard, so we can simulate over penetration of walls. We can simulate over penetration of certain targets through walls, and kind of show you some of the dangers of missing your target. Obviously, that would be priority number one, is hit your target.
Sure.
But some of the dangers of certain calibers and their potential for over penetration within structures, and what the effects of those can be. So yeah, shoot-throughs through the walls, in a general context, we can explain things like that in a class, but we also routinely end up shooting either through the wall or potentially through the door or through the door frame, right around the door frame where we believe somebody to be after they just engaged us and took cover. So that's something that, in a lot of shoot houses, you got plywood walls, you really can't simulate that very well. I mean, you can simulate it, but you can't achieve hits with it. And so we're able to do that here, and it's been pretty easy. I have a ton of replacement panels to replace our cardboard, and we don't use them very often.
Yeah.
The holes are tiny, so it's easy to deal with.
So, in case you guys don't understand, so shoot-throughs are really, or shooting through a wall is really a thing. I mean, that's why they tell you to stay off the walls when you're doing close quarter combat, because walls are bullet magnets. And on top of that, if your gear hits that wall and there's somebody on the other side of that wall, there's absolutely nothing stopping them from popping a few rounds through that wall into you.
Right.
So
Good guys have to PID their target before they engage. Bad guys, all bets are off.
yeah, man, they don't care. They don't care who they hit. They could care less if it's a kid or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. So yeah, you need to be aware of that. And that was when we were talking about this. That was one of the things I thought was really cool, because I hadn't really heard of that. And most of the shoot houses that I've been through, they don't even deal with that as a possibility. I mean, down at Condition 1, which is a really great shoot house down in Miami, they really don't. At least the times I've been there, they haven't really talked about that. But I don't think it's not really something that any of the real shoot houses. I don't even think the cops do that in their shoot houses.
I see plywood more than anything else.
Yeah.
I know Condition 1 uses some sort of other board-like material that's hard, that's not penetrable. But man, they had a beautiful shoot house down there.
Yeah, absolutely, because they've got the ability to do hallways, and also, which is more important, stairways.
Yep.
They have stairways, and they can actually turn off all the lights, and you can do night vision in there as well.
We're playing with ideas on how to make a reconfigurable stairway that moves.
Oh, that's cool.
So we can
Yeah,
set
that's
it up
pretty
in
cool.
different spots in the house. That'll be our next challenge when we build the new house, is how we're going to set that up.
Dude, that is awesome. So, I mean, guys, really, this is something that is hot. And I really recommend that after you guys have gotten some training and take a class with him, do the sustainment. I think you're going to love it. And for the price, it's just ridiculous. Okay, it's just so reasonable that it would be stupid not to do it. So that was one of the reasons I really wanted to do this. Mark's a great guy. I met him through a range that we go to together, and I unfortunately put a couple holes in a steel target of his with my Remington 700 and 300 Win Mag, and had to replace the targets.
I got a brand new target out of it.
But he was really awesome. And so we met him, and he came over to our shop and told me a little bit about his place. And I've been dying to do this for a while, because I think it's super important. And I think he brings something to the community that really you should do. And I don't even think that the SWAT guys get the kind of training that they could get here. So I hope you guys take advantage of this. He's got a great website, and he's got some videos of his classes. I'm going to put a link on our website, as well as on this below on our YouTube channel, that you guys can go to, and feel free to give them a call and sign up or look at when their classes are going to be, and sign up for them. They're awesome.
Yeah, and in addition to our classes and any other classes that we host, we also have a ton of other events, shooting competitions, both precision gas gun at long range, two gun, USPSA, you name it, all the different types of events that we as a group collectively go to and train with the various people, whether it's competition or a class. And those are also listed on our website. They have nothing to do with us, but other than the fact that we attend them, but they're all on our schedule page. So if you're interested in local events that you can go to that would help, perpetuate your training, these are the ones that we choose, and there are hyperlinks to go register for those as well.
Oh, that's great. Is there anything else you want our friends here to know?
Well, I mean, you can find us at the usual places, online on our website or YouTube or Instagram, all those places. But come out and train, or give me a call, find our number and give us a call and ask any questions you like. And the one class I failed to mention is we do a concealed carry fundamentals class.
That's right, yeah.
We don't do it a lot, and I got to tell you, it's one of those classes that it's like it's a love-hate relationship. I don't really love teaching very basic things because sometimes I actually forget that I have to break down how to rack the slide and things like that. But that is probably one of the most important courses that we teach. So I definitely try to get that out a couple times a year to get back to people and give them kind of an introduction to what carrying a firearm is in a way that's a little unconventional compared to most concealed carry classes. Most concealed carry classes center around live fire, and if you want to do that, I suggest you do. But this isn't about getting a permit. This is about understanding what it takes to carry a weapon on a daily basis and understand the reality that comes along with that, whether it's a combative situation inside of 5 feet or whether it is a CQB situation in the shoot house. You're tested opposed and you learn how you will perform under stress. It's not a real gunfight, but it's the closest thing we can come to it. And we've had a lot of epiphanies in those classes. People that carry J-frames with 5 rounds are given a 17-round gun, and they run out of bullets before their gunfight's over. And it's like, well, maybe you should reconsider what you carry based on your skill level. So things like that. But yeah, I mean, reach out to us if there's something we can do for you through our curriculum or someone we host. We would love to have you. If there's just some events that go on locally that we participate in and you have questions about that, reach out. We can certainly answer questions about that.
Because you do force on force and force on targets, right? With that concealed carry course?
Yeah, actually the culmination exercise at the end of that course is a one-on-one gunfight.
That is awesome.
And you're given a scenario, so a person, and it's all documented with first-person video, so you can go back and watch your natural tendencies and how you would react and really analyze it if you want to scrutinize it to that level. And it's valuable information, and more to the point, we do the same thing with all the other training. Solo CQB is all recorded from first-person angles, and so is the team stuff, and we post all of that video in our private group for people to review and do after-action reports on after every training within 24 hours or so.
Yeah, and guys, I got to tell you that one of the things that you should do, and what I tell my students, when we're at the range, is you need to train with intent. Mindset is everything. If you're taking it as, you're just kind of plinking and shooting, that is not where you're going to learn how to defend yourself. Any training you do, especially with close quarter combat, you need to do it as if it's for real, as if that person who sees you is going to kill you. All right? Even though it's not that way, if you don't have your mindset in that, you're not going to do it well, because you're going to figure, well, hey, what the hell? No, everything you do, you should do it with the intent of this being the real deal. And if you do that, it's certainly going to help you. Would you agree?
Absolutely. A plan is better than no plan.
Yeah.
When you go to train, you should probably have a good plan in place to drill the certain things that you need to work on. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for letting me do this with you today. And
absolutely.
I really appreciate it. And I hope that this brings you a lot of business. And guys, I really think this is serious. And I think it's a great opportunity. And if you don't take advantage of it, man, it's just stupid. Okay, so
thanks guys for watching.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you again on the next video.